In the cozy suburb of Maplewood, life was predictable, calm, and comfortable, like a worn-in pair of slippers. Yards were neat, lawns were trimmed, and fences stood straight, serving as polite reminders of boundaries between neighbors who smiled, waved, and mostly kept to themselves. But at number 17 Birch Lane lived someone different, a scrappy little soul named Toby, whose boundless enthusiasm didn't seem to notice these polite neighborhood borders. Toby was a dog, but not just any dog. Toby was an elderly beagle, with ears so long they seemed designed to catch wind and drag him gently forward, nose pressed eagerly to the ground. Toby had spent most of his 12 years living a fairly ordinary dog life. Morning walks, afternoon naps, treats at exactly 3 p.m., and evening cuddles by the television. It was a comfortable life, happy, yes, but predictable, just like Maplewood itself. One warm spring morning, everything changed. Toby's human, Mr. Simmons, forgot to latch the gate. For Toby, this was like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and his birthday all rolled into one accidental miracle. With the gate gently swinging open, he sniffed freedom and bacon from somewhere down the road. Both were irresistible. So, with the spirit of an explorer half his age, Toby stepped boldly into the world beyond. His nose led him first to the Harris's trash bins, where yesterday's meatloaf beckoned. It was a delicious but brief distraction, cut short by Mrs. Harris's startled shout and the quick slam of a screen door. Toby trotted away, ears perked, unfazed by his eviction. Next stop, a gentle sprint across Mrs. Patel's flower bed, leaving daisy petals swirling dramatically behind him. She shook her fist from the porch, but Toby just wagged his tail in cheerful misunderstanding. Clearly, adventure was misunderstood by humans. Toby's nose finally brought him to the end of Birch Lane, where neatly clipped grass met the wild, tangled boundary of Hawthorne Woods, a dark, exciting wilderness no self-respecting Maplewood pet had dared enter. The woods had a reputation. They were said to be filled with mischievous raccoons, moody deer, and a very suspicious owl who watched over everything. Most animals kept their distance, but Toby, buoyed by newfound bravery and meatloaf-fueled optimism, wandered straight into the thicket. He wasn't far in when he heard it, a tiny plaintive sound softer than a whisper, hidden beneath the rustle of leaves. Curious, he followed his ears, sniffing gently at the damp earth until he found the source. It was a small, shivering bundle of fur curled tightly against the cold earth. Toby nudged it softly, revealing wide, frightened eyes blinking up at him. It was a kitten, barely older than a handful of days, utterly alone in the big, scary woods. A kitten. Toby cocked his head, puzzled. Cats were not his favorite creatures. They had a baffling disregard for social etiquette, hissing when they should wag tails, and refusing belly rubs at every turn. But this one, small and trembling, didn't seem capable of such rudeness. Without a second thought, Toby decided this tiny creature needed help, and help he would provide. Gently, he scooped up the kitten in his mouth, softly, like he might carry one of his beloved stuffed toys, and headed back toward Maplewood. Emerging from the woods, Toby felt like a hero returning from an epic quest. But as he trotted down Birch Lane, proudly carrying the kitten, his neighbors reacted with more shock than admiration. Mr. Garcia nearly dropped his coffee, and Mrs. Chang gasped, "A dog rescuing a cat? Is this the apocalypse?" Unfazed, Toby marched straight home through the still open gate and set the kitten down gently on his favorite blanket, next to Mr. Simmons's slippers. The kitten mewed softly, nestling close against Toby's warm fur. He licked its tiny head, sealing their unlikely friendship. When Mr. Simmons finally discovered the duo, he blinked several times, convinced he was dreaming. "Toby," he muttered, scratching his head, "what have you gotten yourself into?" But the beagle only wagged his tail, as if to say, "Isn't it obvious? We've made a friend." The kitten quickly became known as Willow, named after the tree Toby had found her beneath. She was small, curious, and fiercely independent, except when it came to Toby, who she followed with relentless devotion. Wherever he went, Willow was sure to be padding along behind him, like a tiny, fluffy shadow. At first, the other neighborhood pets were suspicious. Maplewood was orderly. Cats stayed on fences, dogs stayed on leashes. But as the weeks turned to months, even the most skeptical animals had to admit there was something heartwarming about Toby and Willow's friendship. They napped together beneath the sunniest window, Toby's paw gently resting on Willow's back. They shared dinner bowls, Toby patiently letting Willow sample first, even though his belly growled loudly in protest. Most adorably, Willow would often ride comfortably atop Toby's back during neighborhood walks, like a tiny queen surveying her kingdom. Maplewood, once quiet and predictable, became brighter with their unlikely bond. Neighbors began to chat more openly, drawn together by curiosity about this strange friendship. The barriers between lawns felt thinner, conversations warmer, and the community tighter. One autumn afternoon, Toby felt slower than usual. The walks became shorter, naps longer. Willow sensed something was wrong. Never leaving his side, she purred gently, kneading his old bones as if willing him back to health. But Toby, wise in the way dogs are, knew his time was growing shorter. He looked at Willow and saw a brave spirit that no longer needed protecting. One chilly morning, Toby peacefully slipped away, curled comfortably in his favorite blanket, Willow at his side. The loss echoed through Maplewood, felt by every neighbor who had been touched by their friendship. Yet, even in sadness, Toby left behind something powerful. Maplewood had become kinder, warmer, and more connected. Neighbors helped each other more willingly. Animals played together freely. And Willow, carrying Toby's gentle spirit, grew into a strong, kind, and fiercely loyal cat. Every evening, Willow still sat on the porch, watching the sunset. And sometimes, just sometimes, if you listened closely enough, you could almost hear the soft rustle of long ears against the evening breeze, reminding everyone that friendship, however unlikely, was always worth the adventure.